am Karen Hand. I'm in the middle because I'm the girl. That's the only reason I'm here. I wanted it boy, girl, boy. William Mitchell and Sean Michael Andrews, I'm sure you guys already know these people. But we are here for a couple of hours together to talk about pain. Now, we're not going to create pain or be a pain in your... What? But we want to talk about some of the ways that we deal with clients who have pain. And if you have questions, please ask. We're going to be here a while. There's nothing formal about this. You don't have to raise your hand. Please, let's discuss. Now, I just took control of the room, and I don't know if they agree with those rules, but that's the rules we're going to go by, right? Okay. All right. So, William, you want to start?
Oh, well, let me just say real quick, looking around the room, there's a lot of people in the room who know a lot about pain, and I'm sure many of you know more about pain than I do, but I'm honored to be up here, and I'll be glad to share a little bit about what I do know about pain. I think I was asked to go down because last year I did do a presentation at the conference on pain management using hypnosis. If we get into talking about different contributions, the one thing I think I can talk about that might be interesting for us is I probably know a lot more about hypnosis than I know about pain management in general. But the one thing I know about hypnosis, there's some interesting theories out there about highly hypnotizable people. And right now we're in a transition from the opioid crisis into alternative medicine. And all across the country, both hospitals and pain management clinics are being forced to basically take people off high doses of opioids. And there are a lot of people who have been living on high dose opioids for many, many years without overdosing, without causing terrible problems. But even though they haven't had problems, they're being denied access to the high dose of opioids. And so they are desperately looking for other alternatives, and hypnotherapy is one of the formal alternative approaches that is listed in it. It used to be, as many of you probably know with the hospitals, that you get so many points in a hospital for your accreditation if you do certain things. They've always said that hospitals should tell their patients about alternative approaches to pain. But just this year, the General Commission, the Joint Commission for Hospitals, now actually changed the rules and said now they get points, and points matter. Points matters for your accreditation. Now they get points if they actually do provide the information about alternative approaches, which hypnotherapy is actually formally listed as one of those approaches. So I think there's an opportunity for us at this time. And what I would say about the deeply, highly hypnotizable people is there is evidence that they're among those people who score on all these different hypnotizability tests. They score in that top 10% of hypnotic virtuosos, the incredible subjects, that there probably are 3 different types of people. And even though they all score highly hypnotizable, there are 3 very different types of people. And how you address pain management will vary depending on which one of the 3 they are. In other words, one approach would really be helpful for this type of person. The same approach would not work with this type of person. And so we can talk about that. That's based on the research of T.X. Barber, the late psychologist who died in 2008. But he really thought that the kind of highly hypnotized person you work with makes a difference. And that has been, in my little limited exposure to hypnosis and pain management, that has certainly been true. Some people respond to certain strategies and not to others. And so we might, as we talk about the different strategies, maybe identify among those highly hypnotized people, maybe some clues that might help you understand which one's which. So that might be the contribution I would make.
Let me just bounce off of that for 1 second. I agree with that. And I think all these theories, whatever you believe, is what's going to work in your office, right? I believe that everyone who walks into my office is hypnotizable. And I believe that because I don't make a reservation at an expensive restaurant if I think they're going to have lousy steak, or if I think I'm not going to like the food. Why would I make a reservation there? And so I assume that when my clients have made a reservation with me, they're expecting something to work. They come to me already in a trance, ready for it to work. Now, I will agree with you 100% that you can't use the same strategy on everybody. Now it's our job as hypnotists to observe the person who's come begging for help, whether they have to jump through hoops or they just see you on the street. I was at a conference last August, and it was at a casino, And there was a woman there in the coffee shop talking about having a headache. And she found out I was a hypnotist. There was a hypnosis conference going on there. And she found out I was a hypnotist. She said, oh, can you do anything about that? Well, I could have easily said to her, absolutely, make an appointment, come to my office, we'll do some progressive relaxation. I live in Chicago. She was in Las Vegas. That wasn't going to help her. She was in pain right there. So I did not take on the limiting belief that it has to be quiet, that you have to be relaxed, that everything has to be great. I took on the belief that, yes, we can do something about that right now. Let's do it here. There in the coffee shop with all the noise going on, in about 5 minutes, her headache was gone. And she was thrilled. I saw her 4 other times around that casino that weekend, and every time she saw me, she screamed out, said, there's my hypnotist, she cured my pain. So you decide what beliefs you want to take on, and then you operate from that particular perspective. That's my belief. Not everybody has that one, okay? That's my belief, and that's the principle I work off of. And in a moment, not just yet, but in a moment, I'll actually have a handout for it, and I will show you a great headache process that can be very quick and that can be done any place, okay? Melissa Roth was supposed to be on this panel with us. She, Sean Michael Andrews, you know, in a pinch, just on a spur of the moment, said, yes, I can add some things to this. So he's joined us, and we love you for that. But I will teach you Melissa Roth's 5-minute migraine cure and have a handout for it. So we're going to do that one coming up, okay? And so you get a little piece of Melissa, even though she's not here. She's a very dear friend of mine, and her daughter is in the hospital, about to have some life-saving surgery tomorrow. So she'll be back in action, but this just came up, so that's why Melissa's not here. We'll do more of that coming up, but let me toss it to Sean, because I'm bookended by 2 guys who I think have a similar philosophy, maybe a little different from mine. I'm not sure.
He's faster than I am.
But he is faster, because he is the world's fastest. He would do the migraine cure in 2 minutes.
2 seconds.
Oh, 2 seconds. I'm sorry.
Is that about numerical?
Stop.
No.
Stop it.
No, he's faster than me.
Well, that's your 5 minutes, though.
Okay. So anyway, yeah, I don't disagree with anything that either of my colleagues, my friends have said. Everything that I know that I use for pain, I've learned from other people. If I get the opportunity to share with you, which I think we've got 2 hours, so certainly we'll have time. Nothing I'm going to show you is made up by me. It was all things that were taught to me by some really fantastic hypnotists, and so I will try to attribute every time I show you something, attribute it to the person who shared it with me. If you share something with me, I'm probably going to share that around too. So don't tell me anything you want to keep secret, because I don't keep secrets anymore. So I'm the supervising instructor for the Dave Ellman Hypnosis Institute, and Ellman made his name by 1949 to 1963 teaching doctors and dentists how to use hypnosis in their practices, both for pain management and anxiety management and just all sorts of things. But of course, pain was one of the major things. One of the things that I teach, and I hope to show, maybe if we have some migraine sufferer in here who's game, is Ellman had a process for taking care of migraine headaches. He had a couple, but one is pretty fast. I haven't had a headache in 9 years. And now I got bad headaches. Fortunately, I never had migraines, but I haven't had a headache in 9 years. And it doesn't mean that I shouldn't have had a headache in 9 years, because sometimes I do things that I shouldn't do that I deserve to get a headache, but I don't, because when I feel it coming, I just take it away using this process, which Ellman was using back in the 1950s. I've taught a course for nurse anesthetists, and taught them how to take away pain using hypnotic techniques. And then, of course, there's a lot of semantics that are involved when you're working with discomfort, right? We tend not even to say the P word. So I know a bit about this, and I've worked with a lot of clients that have had discomfort issues. So I think there are 4 different ways that I use to take away headaches. One takes 20 seconds, one takes just a couple seconds, one takes about 5 minutes, and the other one maybe 5 or 6 if you're really slow. But anyway, there's no reason why you can't do most of this stuff very quickly. And I think I'm glad it was you, Karen, or was it William that mentioned the thing about the depth? Oh, yeah, you both talked about that, about depth. And I think depth is extremely important. In my opinion, when you're working with pain, to get the best results, obviously you're going to want your deepest subjects, which are going to be like your top 20%, that you can actually achieve anesthesia. But I think that with almost anyone, you can get analgesia. So while you may not be able to take away all the pain or sensation, say that word, you may not be able to take it all away. You can definitely help almost everybody. And when it comes to, I'll say, pain, that they're pretty motivated. They're pretty motivated to make this thing successful. So you can help everybody, but some people you can do miracles with.
So who would be interested in seeing what was it, 20-second?
The 20-second headache.
Yeah, no kidding, right?
Anybody get a headache?
Everybody's all.
I'll give you one before the end.
Everybody's all relaxed.
It might come up. It might come up.
Anybody want us to install a headache just for this demonstration?
Sorry?
About pain other than a headache.
It really works fantastic. This particular technique works fantastic with a headache. So yeah.
You got a pain other than a headache, Brenda?
Yep.
That you're willing to work on right now? Sure. So, you guys mind if we do this one real quick and then we'll come back?
ahead.
Hey, this one may take a little longer. Would that be okay? You want to come up?
Do you want my chair?
It doesn't matter. Let's bring up another chair.
Okay.
Oh,
What's the concierge?
thank you very much.
Brenda fell for it. So now you're a member of the panel.
We'll do it right here. Okay. Thank you. You don't have to tell us a whole lot about it, but can you focus on your pain right now? Focusing on your pain? I really want you to focus in on that pain itself, right where it is. Right where it is. So tell me a little bit about it. How big is it?
Feels small, but produces a lot of pain.
Okay. But that spot, that place where the pain is, it feels small. Yeah. What color is it?
Actually black.
It's black. What's the texture?
It's like spiky, like flashes. Black.
Spiky and flashes black. Yeah, and when you say it's small, is it small like a dime or small like a fist or small like a...
If I had to give it a size, maybe the size of a softball.
The size of a softball, okay. What's the texture?
It's dark, but shady.
It's shiny. And is the texture, because it's shiny, is the texture smooth or is it something else?
It's somewhat smooth.
Somewhat smooth. What's the temperature of that spot, that pain, that uncomfortability?
Actually feels cold.
It feels cold. I'm just curious, if it were warmer, would it feel any better? If you could warm it up, what might you do to warm it up? So you can close your eyes, leave them open, doesn't make any difference, but imagine that you put a heating pad on that and warm it up. And you know, in hypnotic time, it goes really fast as the world's fastest hypnotist. So as you warm it up, what does that do to it? I'm sorry?
Still there.
And is it less? Is it more? Is it exactly the same?
It's warm now.
It's warm now, and how does that deal with that spot? Does it change that place, that spot?
Well, the pain is still underneath, but feels warmer.
The pain is still underneath? Is that what I heard you say?
Yes.
But it feels warmer. If you were to shrink the size of it, what might you do to shrink it? Kind of soften the size. If you would make it smaller, how would that change it?
I guess in a decrease in intensity.
Yeah, if you could make that thing smaller, do whatever it takes to make that smaller and tell me how that changes it.
Getting warmer,
It's getting warmer,
a little less intense.
a little less intense. Isn't that interesting? I wonder how small it needs to be for it to be almost non-existent.
So better.
It seems better. Has the color changed?
Can't see.
You can't see. Well, that's curious. Is it gone?
Now.
It's gone for now. So notice now, Brenda, the sensation of no sensation. I want you to notice something entirely different now. Notice comfort. Notice the sensation of no sensation. You know, if you'll notice your left little finger, just notice the sensation of no sensation there, because it's probably not doing anything. You might feel a fabric. Notice the sensation of no sensation right now in your knee or your ankle, or your left earlobe. And then go back to that spot and notice the sensation of no sensation. And tell me what you notice about that now.
It improved
It improved it
it. Calmed down considerably.
and it's calmed down considerably. So you know that you're in complete control of that now, do you not? I wonder where you want to take that. I don't know. You might want to keep some of it. It's up to you. I know for me, I would want it gone, but I'm not going to tell you what to do.
I need to relax for the first time today.
It's just relaxing for the first time today. Go ahead and relax all the way down. All the way down until you can just notice the sensation of no sensation. And won't it be interesting for the rest of today, and as long as you want, all week, all month, all year, won't it be interesting for you to begin to really take your attention to the sensation of no sensation? And the fun thing about that, Brenda, is you can take a sensation of no sensation from any part of your body, from your elbow, from your little toe, from your knee, from your earlobe, and you can move that sensation of no sensation to wherever you want it. You can transfer that to any spot that you want. And give yourself that relief. What color is it now?
Can see it.
Can't see it. Then let's stop looking for it. Would that be okay? So in just a moment, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and take your original seat. Well, I'm going to ask you if you don't mind answer questions if anybody has. But then when you take your original seat, I would like you to continue. Consciously stay with us, but subconsciously, unconsciously, your mind, you can go ahead and process that and just eliminate it now if you'd like to. Or manage it, your choice, by seeing it, paying attention to it, noticing it, and changing it into that freedom, into that sensation of no sensation. Is that okay with you? Ready to come back and answer some questions?
Sure.
I don't think she really is. Okay, I made a tragic mistake. I didn't even think about asking on a scale of 1 to 10, tell me where you are right now. If I'd have done that, oh my gosh, I'd have had so much more control because I said, where are you now? I'm at a 5 grade, where are you at? Well, I forgot. But you know what? When you forget something or you miss something, you just keep going on and trust that your client can do it and trust that you can dance and do that dance. Because I forgot that big clue for myself. So I just talked to her, where is it now? What's changed? If nothing had changed, we'd have had more work to do. As we were changing it, things were changing. And I couldn't have asked for a better result than I can't even see it. How you feeling now?
I'm good. I was at a 10.
You were at a 10. Thank you for remembering that. And now where are you?
I'm down around 2 or 3 right now.
2 or 3. You know, interestingly enough, I've heard, I'm not a doctor. Kind of played one on the radio for a while in the past life, but I'm not a doctor. But I have heard that anything under a SUDS level or a subjective unit of distress, anything under a 3 is quite manageable. So if you are smart enough and clever enough and remember to do that important step, which obviously isn't all that important at all, but a good clue for you, right? If you remember to do that and you get it under a 3, you can move them along. I was getting indications from this particular person that she was down there and it was okay. And that she can continue to do that on her own. Does anybody have any questions about that? Do you mind answering questions?
No.
Anybody have any questions for her or about that process? Yes.
So Karen, actually have a question more for you. At what point would you see a client for pain as opposed without knowing if there's an underlying medical situation that really a doctor might need to know about?
I would always ask for a medical referral, okay? I didn't today, so she might sue me. Thank you for bringing that up. That's right. That's right. Get me to pay your conference fee. Yeah, I'm not doing that. So yes, my rule and their rules may be different because there are no hard and fast rules. We all do it the way we do it. But if somebody calls me specifically with something on pain, I do want a doctor's referral first. And especially if it's a headache, they could have a brain tumor, or if they've got a pain in their leg, they could have a broken leg. I don't set bones, okay? So yes, I want a doctor's referral. And quite honestly, that does my business a lot of good. Because when I get the doctor's referral and I tell them that we took care of that, I get a bunch more referrals. Not for pain, but for a lot of stuff. So yes, indeed. I was going to address that and probably should have said to her when she said, let's come up here and do this demo. Can you bring me a doctor's referral? You get it. Right? Yeah, that was a good question. Thank you very much.
What if she had said, I've been to doctors, I've checked this, and they said, there's really nothing going on, but I have this discomfort still going on, can you help me with that? Do you still ask for referral, is that good enough?
It depends. Okay, it depends on whether I've worked with that client before. It depends on whether I know that client, whether I trust that client. The question was, if they say, hey, I've already checked with the doctor and I'm just fine, will I take him anyway? I will ask for a referral if I don't know that client, for a couple of reasons, because I want contact with their doctor, right? And because I want to know that it's not something that should be fixed with something else, right? I have hip pain. I needed a hip replacement 7 years ago. I haven't had it yet. So I work on the pain on my own, right? I manage the pain on my own. If I were to call a hypnotist, yes, I need a hip replacement. Yes, I definitely do, and that could do it. But I want to manage this without the hip replacement. That might be an extenuating circumstance where I might take it as a client. Does that make sense to you? Yes. So everything depends. I'm sorry.
Yeah, another tactic that you might take is to have a form that says, I have been told by Karen Ann that I should get a physician referral. However, however, I have chosen not to request a referral. I have chosen not to get a referral and to work with her without the referral. And that way she's sort of absolved
Well,
from.
not completely. They still could go after her.
I mean, they can always go out. That's true. They
Yeah.
can always go after her.
I think Jason has some comments.
Yeah, I was gonna share another system is that I've got a standard stock generic letter that says, dear doctor, this person is coming to me for the following reasons. And it's kind of generic in terms of suggestions for hypnotic comfort, stress relief, and so forth. Should you see any contraindication to the use of hypnosis, feel free to reach out to me. And on my office forms, they have to check a box that, if appropriate, I will share this letter with my doctor. But I'm like Karen, that I don't tend to target a lot of pain relief, just so that I don't see a lot of it because of that. But I'm similar to Karen, that my platform is that I will not schedule you until I've now received that thing from the doctor. But it's where if it's something a little bit more weak and ongoing and not big, massive issue, it's kind of secondary to the real reason why they're coming to me. Then I've got that sort of stock letter, which again, by checking that box, they're embracing that responsibility. A small political thing to this is that when Affordable Health Care Act passed, they folded in clauses for patient responsibility. But when in doubt, don't, is the mindset that I live by. So it's where I'm going to build a compliance checkpoint that, here, fill out your forms, send them back to me, then I'll fax this to your doctor, because I want that person who's going to jump through hoops.
Jason, I know a lot of us don't target pain management, but that's one thing I've really been thinking about in the last 6 months is, should I be doing more focus on getting pain clients? Because I just want to emphasize one more time, there are pain clinics, right? Pain clinics usually run by anesthesiologists. They are turning out thousands and thousands in each practice of people away that they will not give the opioids to anymore. And they don't have any viable approach for them other than some very questionable techniques and so there's certainly a business opportunity for someone who's interested in developing their skills working pain, because it's happening right now. And by the end of the year, it's going to get even worse. After the first year, it's going to get even worse, because legally, the medical doctors are afraid of losing their license over prescribing opioids. This is a major crisis in our country.
But the clients will try and lure you in. We've all gotten the call, have you seen your doctor about this? No, I don't believe in doctors. Well, I do. So I really need you to get this referral signed and returned to me for me to work with you. And it's dangerous. One of the most dangerous things that hypnotists can do is to have somebody come to you for intervention when really they ought to be seeing a medical doctor. So that's the most dangerous thing you can do to your career and your business.
And I hope, I'm going to clarify, make sure you
And to your patient and your client.
I want to make sure you understand. I'm not saying put an ad in the paper saying I see pain clients. I'm saying get a hold of these pain clients and become their hypnotherapy person of choice. Because they are going to refer. They have to. They're going to refer people out because, it's just, these anesthesiologists, they can't use the drugs they used to use. They can't use them.
Well, doctors refer. Have show of hands, have you been to your primary care physician and they said, go see this specialist, right? Did you stop going to your primary care physician? No, you went to see the specialist, and the next time you had a cold, you went right back to that doctor who referred you to somebody else. So there is no shame in referring out. It's a good thing. So if there's somebody that you don't do pain with, or that you don't know, or you've got a question about that, don't be afraid to say, I need to talk to your doctor first, or I think you would be better served by this other person, right? Because that brings trust on you. That brings good karma on you, right? Yeah.
I can tell you the legal requirements.
Okay.
You can get a non-physician HIPAA requirement clause. We have that in the record. Jason is close, but he's still completely liable. If you got a HIPAA compliant form, plus your addendum form to it.
Yes.
So if you had your form and add a HIPAA compliant, you're completely liable.
Okay,
I tell
so
everyone,
I'm gonna ask you to
medical
come up
requirements.
here for a second, because they just sent me a sign that said, repeat that question, and I can't. That wasn't a question, actually. And Brenda wants to know if she can go back to her seat. Go back, no, we'll talk about that. Thank you very much.
So what question?
But if you do, I have to touch your back, that's the rule.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry.
I touch backs all day.
Okay, you were saying something about to get the requirements.
Yeah. His is,
We don't know this guy, by the way. He could be telling us all a lie, but we're gonna
yeah,
listen.
I'm not. I've had up to 60 medical practices at one time. Yours is closed, but you have to have a HIPAA requirement. You can't have a referral.
Oh, that's on the front page of the thing. That
Well,
the time they
You
sign.
have to have an addendum to a HIPAA. Without being a licensed physician, you can't do a HIPAA. You have to have an addendum to a HIPAA. But that's legal. And never take anyone without a referral. Just don't do it.
Is that a what?
Without a medical referral.
Yeah.
You're completely liable. He's liable. Even with HIPAA compliance, you're liable.
That's right.
You'll never get out of getting to that lawsuit if you treat pain and they have an existing condition. And that condition can be 20 years old.
What
And
kind of
this
doctor
is
are you?
Dr.
They say, I went to medical school in California.
Okay, so we have someone who has to go along with the HIPAA requirements. Tell
So a
me.
medical referral is the only way to go.
Only if you do pain. Anything else you're covered. You can do anything except pain. Because pain is a blanket term. Pain can mean anything, say for example, a sinus infection. You're liable.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah, so, for example, Dr. Ramos, in Illinois, that's the only state I really know about. In Illinois, your scope of practice defines if you can work with pain. And really in Illinois, the only people that work with pain are MDs and chiropractors.
MDs, DCDO.
Yeah,
DOs,
that's
yeah.
what DOs, right. Osteopaths. But they're often operating as medical doctors. But the point is, anybody else dealing with pain, if you're a hypnotist, you're usually teaching self-hypnosis for them. So,
And so you can list it and you can say that and you can even put that in your paperwork. You're still liable. Just call it anything but pain. Just don't use that term. Discomfort is good. Disorder. I like to use the word disease, which is not disease, but dis-ease. The dysfunctional area.
That's functional positive, but it's
Right.
increasing comfort.
It's just a liability. And I work with attorneys just about every week, unfortunately. And you don't want to go that route.
And let's remember that we are hypnotists. We're not covered by confidentiality clauses, right? Like a priest or like a doctor or lawyer client confidentiality. So we can be sued or subpoenaed for our notes, for everything that we did with that client. That can definitely happen. So that's one of the reasons why you want to cover yourself.
Actually, you are under confidentiality.
You are.
Well,
You got a
but we can't claim that we can't tell what they told us.
No, it doesn't matter. If they ask for paperwork, give it.
Well, right, right.
But yeah, you are covered from privacy. But you get away with it with a HIPAA add-on to your paperwork.
Thank you very much. Appreciate
One
it.
thing that wasn't asked was what he was up to. Is when I only work with HIPAA every time. I don't care what he comes to me for. You can't tell him for him, you don't work with him. So I'm gonna talk with your doctor. The question wasn't asked today, are you on any medications? If so, what, by what amount?
I wouldn't ask you.
I don't either.
let me repeat the question. The question you asked would be, are you on any medications? What's the question?
If so, what amount? What name and what amount? And the reason being, I want to list that in my request I'm furnishing the doctor, because I'm seeing you for a complimentary visit about a week or 10 days before I'm having the actual. So the doctor's got a chance to respond to me.
Here's why you don't want to do that. If they're on an anti-neuroleptic, antipyretic, and you do that, you broke the law.
Well, I'm just doing what the doctor says put on there. My clients were like.
Just don't ask.
Right.
You don't want to know. That's not your field, so don't ask.
Because they have side effects, goes with it, so asking your doctor, because some medicines are taking are providing some cases for pain.
Legally,
Side effect.
legally, you're practicing medicine and have a license.
That's exactly
If
right.
you ask,
Legally, if you have it on your paperwork,
if it's on your paperwork and you write down the medications, that's illegal.
yes, because
But if
you
the
are
doctor fills it
implying
out
that
and
you know
sends
what
it
that
to you.
is.
Don't do that.
If he fills it out and puts it on there, they're on these medications.
Then he's liable. But he's gonna make you liable.
Yeah, don't put it on your intake.
If it's on your
forms.
paperwork, you're liable. But don't do it. If they're on benzodiazepines, if they're on antipyretics, if they're on antipsychotics, legally you can't treat them.
Wow.
So don't ask. Don't ask, don't tell.
You want to stay up here on our couch?
I would be glad to.
I'm gonna scoot over a little
I've
bit.
done this tens of thousands.
Just hang here with
We're
us.
not staying on the way in. You know far more about this than I do. You should.
I've done it for a long time.
Okay, but you don't get to sit in front, you have to come back in a row and join our panel.
Can I
Yes,
just clarify, if we get the doctor's note to treat someone for discomfort, you're covered?
Yes,
Yes, thank you.
because it's a complete referral.
Can we use you as a referring doctor? So we can just get a note from you, from any desultory person who walks by and say, oh, look at him. That's the way they do it at the cannabis shops.
Here's the legality. If you have a past history, if you have an exam, if you have your paperwork, you can.
Yeah.
So
Okay, yeah.
it's all as fast as you
I
can.
was being facetious, but so you do want, for us, honestly, any doctor's referral will work, because we don't have to test their history to find out if they ever visited that doctor. If they hand us a piece of paper signed by a doctor,
Even podiatric surgery.
that's fine for us.
Physical therapist, to a limited degree, is neuromusculoskeletal. But like I say, for him, if you have that, they're gonna be on some kind of analgesics. Don't write it down.
Well, I've been a doctor write it down.
Well, the physical therapist can't write it
Really?
But
No,
they do.
chiropractor can't.
But they
down.
do.
Yes,
What you just
I'm also a
said,
licensed physical
yeah.
therapist.
what you just said makes perfect sense to me. However, that's news to me, that we should not write down anything or have anything on our form about medication.
didn't realize
That's, I did not know.
That's a
that.
liability issue we just don't want.
Wow.
No, I don't want.
Wow.
If you did that on your intake form, that means you're practicing professionally.
Or implying, I mean, you're giving the hypnotic suggestion. Remember, everything is hypnosis. So you're giving a suggestion to the judge, to the jury, to everybody else, to the client, that you know what you're talking about with that.
Now,
And
here's
you're
another-
not licensed to do that.
Here's another case. Now, say for example, for her pain, she gave implied consent.
Yeah.
You're liable for that. That means you're treating them.
Oh, please keep telling me this. If we get one more person to say that, that's the third suggestion,
That's a
and
nice
you'll have
smile.
to go to court with me.
No, I can give you treatment. So any other questions? Give me the hardest ones.
So how would you work around that? Because let's say, this is not paying, but thank you, this is amazing. Working with someone with sleeping problems, that I want to be aware that they're not going to be going off the ambient like that, which I don't want to be advice, even give advice on that.
Well, say for example, if you did say for example, they have anoxia, they're snoring, just simple anoxia. Can you treat that? Yes. That's not respiratory. That's just a sleep disorder.
Right.
Because they're asleep. Anything is sleep. Say you got weird kinky dreams, they're asleep. That's you're covered.
You just don't have, you can talk to them about the medication, but you're not gonna write it in their
You don't want to
file.
write it down.
That's-
I wouldn't even talk to them.
Well,
I wouldn't if I were. And here's why. What are you gonna do? You're gonna say, well, I don't want you to take that.
No.
And I do that all the time, but I'd have it sent over to the MD, and they're like, whatever, I don't care, because they don't. And then it sits to the pharmacist, and they stop.
So referral.
Yeah. I've had individuals on Ambien and Celebrex and Select at the same time that'll kill you in a couple of days.
Oh.
And they wanted me to work on them for sleep disorders. And I was like, not until this is gone. So I'll see you in a month. But refer out, get the paperwork.
So I just want to get this clear now. You said that if you have a HIPAA form and you're an addendum to, would you be willing to share that kind of paperwork with them?
Yeah, it's on the
They would-
website.
Is it?
Okay,
Okay,
just download it from the website.
from what website? Sorry.
Whatever the HIPAA compliance, just Google HIPAA compliance. And you can download PDF
And it's a PDF of a HIPAA
compliance form.
Right. And then
Just throw that in the phone.
you can break this down for me because I got kind of lost there. So the HIPAA compliant form, and then you put this with your intake form
Right.
on which you do not say you have anything, any indications about
Yeah.
what medication you're on or anything like that.
It's just in the phone.
So you marry those two together.
Here's why legally, if you refer them out without a HIPAA form, that's illegal.
Even with a referral.
If you refer out, that's illegal without HIPAA compliance. Like for hers, she had it in implied consent. That means you're treating it. That means whatever happens, you're liable.
If you refer them out.
I was going to. Yeah, even if you refer them out.
What did I do to you?
If they sign your paperwork, you're treating them. That's the legality. If you answer the phone and say, yeah, I can work on that, come on in, you're treating them. You're liable. I had a case where there's two gorgeous women coming to the office Friday about 5 o'clock. My practice down the road. And I told my partner, I said, something's wrong. I said, I'm not treating these. I don't look like that. They're not, something's wrong. So come to find out that I had a buddy that used to work in the CIA. He made some phone calls. They had about 5 states that had warrants out for them. They'd go and get one treatment to the doctor, go to another office, get one treatment to the doctor. And they were just gorgeous, hot women. And they were using that to their advantage. So Monday morning, when they showed up for their fake treatment, they got arrested. So I've seen a bunch of this stuff. And people come in, slip and falls. I had a case that settled, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday before I flew up. On the intake paperwork, the person put that it was not from an auto accident. I circled it, I dated it, I initialed it. The attorney still filed insurance for auto accident. And I refused to take any money for it. Because that's a Class C felony. Me taking the money is a Class B felony. And her committing is Class A felony. I'm not doing 20 years for $400 or $500.
Anybody afraid of working with paying clients yet?
It's a very, very sticky field. I wanted to explain that. But I was like, oh, if I ever beware. And I've had those lawsuits. I've never lost one, but I've had a bunch of them. You know, not particularly against me, it's just my other practices. I used to manage like 52 practices. And it just gets old. You know, it's just nonstop legal. Because everybody's out to see. And you don't think so? Yeah. There.
So just get a referral, done.
Now, here's my best suggestion. Don't treat pain.
Well, don't treat, we don't treat.
Treat something else, treat
That was
discomfort.
4. Discomfort, a dis-ease, a disorder. You have a disorder here. But let's have a medical clearance. And I like to call it a clearance instead of a referral. Because if you don't have it cleared, you can't treat them.
This
And you
is
are
some pretty
treated.
great information, by the way.
You are treating them, whether you want to call it hypnosis or not. Because what's a psychologist do? Well, he steals from you. It's just contextual talking, no fixing anything. But they're treating them, so they're liable. And it's just talking. And what's hypnosis? Just talking.
So let me follow up with you on one of these things. So you get a referral from the doctor. And my client or my patient has been having continuous pain after a shoulder sprain, and I'm also medically treating them for depression.
Mm-hmm.
So now your client comes in, you've got the referral, you're able to relieve the discomfort in the shoulder. And they're saying, you know, I feel so good now. I don't need my Wellbutrin.
Well, let me interject
Now,
one thing.
do you have, hang on, do
So
you
far,
need
it's
to
illegal.
go back?
From what you said, and the way you presented that, it's not legal.
It's not.
You can't treat them. You can't treat that legally.
Traditionally, what we've done is
But you're-
we've given the client the referral, and it says, your patient, you know, because it's the doctor's patient, your patient, John Smith, would like to use hypnotic conditioning to make him feel more comfortable or to reduce discomfort. And then you ask for the, and then, oh, this is really important. Then you say, I will keep you advised as to your patient's progress, which is really cool because then you have the communication between you and the doctor, which you should have anyway. That's traditionally what we've done. Is that cool?
It is, but here's the way you want to phrase it. I want to give them hypnotic sessions to improve their lifestyle.
No, I'm saying,
That's all you have to say.
you tell
Then you're
the
covered.
potential person, I can't see you without a referral from your doctor.
Yes.
So they come in with a referral from their doctor, you know, here, hypnotist, here's my referral from the doctor, and the doctor's referral is saying, this is my patient, I'm treating them for this, they're having continuous pain in their shoulder. And then you say, okay, I can treat your discomfort in your shoulder. So with hypnotic techniques, you're able to reduce the discomfort in their shoulder.
Right, that's still illegal.
If I could-
What you want to say is you're treating them to improve their lifestyle, or you're treating them to improve the situation that they have at this moment. So they have a shoulder problem. You don't say that. To improve the situation they have at this moment is what? Their depression, their anxiety, prostatitis, whatever. You don't say what it is. You're not allowed to make a diagnosis.
But no, maybe I'm not wording rightly.
I understand you're saying it because the doctor referred it to you,
The doctor is the one who gave the diagnosis.
but you're still treating that condition.
And you're not
Under
supposed
the
to.
auspices of the doctor.
Don't say that. Say that you want to improve their lifestyle. Go ahead. You want to improve their lifestyle.
This might be a
Sessions
case,
to improve lifestyle.
this might be a case of being old helps. Okay? I've been doing this a long time now. When I started in Springfield 2003, it was very common practice for me to get a request for to work with someone. Let's just say, for example, someone came in to see me for weight loss, but they are a diagnosed bipolar disorder. Well, I don't have to, but it was just always wise to get their permission to contact their doctor. And I wanted to ask, my question was basically, do you feel like this person would benefit from me seeing them using hypnosis to help them reduce weight? Because a lot of people with the bipolar medications would gain weight. Well, for a number of years, it really reaffirmed my faith in traditional medicine, because for a number of years, a lot of times somebody would come in, they'd make that request, and the answer would come back, and they'd say yes, they work with this person, and that would be exactly what answer I would have given after interviewing them. Or the answer come back no, and that would have been exactly the answer I would have given too, because some people on that spectrum are in a better position. And I actually had one lady came back over 5 years several times, and finally, toward the end, when she walked in, she was like a totally different person. She was on her meds, and she was at a more functional level, and the psychiatrist then said yes. But then all of a sudden, there was a change in the law. And now, if you fax that same request to the doctor, and a lot of times their nurses will call them. Now the response is, that patient can do what they want to do. We don't refer. Because of what you're talking about, they are legally responsible to refer. So they're not going to refer to me as an unlicensed person. So even at a pain clinic, what they might do is give them a list of potential practitioners, which my name might be on the list, but they're not going to directly refer to me. Is that accurate, Doctor?
That's 100% right. Okay.
Wow.
See, that's what's funny. If she had the referral from him, you can't do that. I tell everybody in here, stay away from pain. It's not worth it. It's not worth it.
Hypnotic lifestyle.
Just you're doing it to improve their lifestyle.
When you're saying stay away from pain, you're not saying don't work with people.
Of course not.
You're saying stay away from using the word pain.
That's right.
I just wanted to clarify that.
I want
Yes.
everybody to have them clear, medically clear. That doesn't mean referred, medically clear. Because if they're medically clear, you're covered. And the doctor. But if they're not medically cleared and you have a referral, both of you are liable.
So then in terms of semantics, if I was doing this category, mine would be, I have them fill out the forms. I'm sending everything over along with something to be signed on behalf of the doctor. Up until now, like that phrase, up until now, it has been, I see no contraindication to the use of hypnotic suggestion for my patient. They sign, and everything else is a form. What language would you use as if it was a quote on behalf of the doctor That I
Well, anything-
deem be medically clear.
Okay, you don't want to give an indication for the necessity for the sessions.
Right.
So in other words, no diagnosis. And that's why I say the
Mine are
lifestyle.
always the positive.
We're doing it to improve lifestyle changes. Your situation at this moment, which, that's a closet term we like to use. Well, you know, the situation at this moment, which means you might need one treatment, you might need 10, you might need 5 referrals, you might need MRI, whatever, but you're covered.
But to that
Because if
final-
something happens and you miss something, say for example, you miss something, not you guys, but the doctor misses it, that gave a okay, you're liable.
But for that final phrasing of, in the first person of the doctor referring to that, what's the language you'd recommend on this person is medically clear to have that term?
Just if they're clear.
Yeah.
Just do it that, you know, is it okay if they have these sessions if they're medically clear? And that way, it's not you, it's him, because you don't make the diagnosis. See, that's what everybody, like say, for example, yours. If you had the referral, it's useless because he had what? A diagnosis. You can't make a diagnosis. So you're liable, and the attorney will sue him too.
But she's not, I'm not arguing, I'm just clarifying. She's not making the diagnosis.
Yes, she is, because she accepted him to do treatments and sessions per that doctor's referral that they had the shoulder problem. So that means you accepted the diagnosis, which means you gave them that diagnosis. That's the way an attorneys look at it. And you didn't give the diagnosis, but that's not how the attorneys look at it. The law looks at, well, if you accept that diagnosis, that means you made it. Do you have a license to do that? Well, not really. Gotcha. And if it's not incorporated, whatever you have, your house, your car, your cat's house, they're taking it too.
So following up, something that Sean had said, so the medically clear to receive hypnosis,
Yes.
is it appropriate then to
Perfect.
give feedback to the doctor saying,
He won't want it. And don't get the feedback unless he requests it in writing. He won't request it because once they're to see you, oh, I thought you wanted. Once they're to see you, he don't want it. He's gonna be like, I'm out.
Okay. Real quick, I think we're all very grateful for the clarification of language that Dr. Ramos is making, because the fact is, I said this to, I'm teaching a certification class right now, and they're attending the classes that we're in right now. And I was saying to the students, you know, if the attorneys and the state or these other people want to come after you, you don't want to give them the ammunition. You don't want anything in writing that's going to give them an excuse. And actually, right now, I've been retained as a expert witness for pay in a very prominent legal case against the hypnotist. And the person did a lot of things wrong. Okay, they did a lot of things right too. They did a lot of things right, and we'll see how it goes. But it has ruined this hypnotist's life. I mean, that's already been accomplished and hasn't even gone to trial yet. You know, I mean, so we do need to take seriously that if the state attorney general or somebody like that gets a hold of something and you've got this stuff written down, like you're saying, with the wrong wording, you know, most of us just don't have the resources to go and battle in these kind of situations. You know, so, but so I really appreciate you, Dr. Ramos, for
Yes.
stepping
Oh,
out
yeah.
and sharing. Let's give him a hand. Let's give him a hand. I appreciate it. Thank you. And I might make a little plug. Dr. Ramos is speaking at the Heartland Hills Conference too. But let me just, let's, can we maybe move the panel along a little bit?
Yes.
I know many of you are wondering about how to work with people who want to do this kind of thing. And in general, just talking about this, you know, I might just share a couple of my notes I made about it. One, when you are talking to someone to improve their life using hypnosis, you know, one, when they're describing it, let's just make sure, because some of you know a lot about pain, and some of you may not. So, but some of the notes I made was, you know, have them describe the pain to you. Am I being heard on this?
Yeah.
Okay, very good. Have them describe the pain to you. Now, part of the reason you want them to describe is you're listening as a hypnotist now. You're a hypnotist. You're listening for the description and the metaphorical language they're using. Now, why? Because when they describe it, they might describe their pain maybe as searing or scalding or boiling or stabbing or dull or sharp or electric throbbing or pulsating go on, type of discomfort they're feeling. They really want someone to understand first their experience. So there is that counseling aspect where you're really listening. If you go to a pain clinic right now, folks, you get maybe 10 minutes with the doctor, maybe 10 minutes.
You'll probably never see it.
Yeah. So these people have been shuttled from pain person to pain person. So when they go see you, if you'll listen, you're a leg up. If you'll actually let them tell you your story and what's going on, and you can do some pretty good things with just good old-fashioned active listening, But also, once you do listen and you make a few notes and kind of make these points, you can then go back and use those metaphors to help them. For example, if someone has a stabbing pain, can that pain be cushioned? One man helped us, told me, hypnosis, he could feel the stabbing, but it was now buffered by a comfortable cushion and no longer bothered. A burning pain can be cooled. See, these are metaphors. When we describe pain, we often have to speak in metaphorical language. Well, you can use that language because that's how but you want to use their language. Their language. You know what I'm saying? Their language. So these are just basic things. Now, my colleagues on the panel all know this, but I'm just throwing it out here so we can kind of discuss it. But the point is, if you have a pulsating pain, it can be slowed, maybe even eventually stopped altogether. Now, in this way, you're building rapport with the person who's suffering from the discomfort. And just building rapport can make a huge difference. Wouldn't you agree? Remember mom kissing it and say, it can be better? Remember that? It did get better, didn't it?
I didn't have that kind of mother.
Yeah, the kind of mother.
Slap that pain right out of you, boy.
But also, as it's been mentioned already, we don't want to mention the word pain very much. Matter of fact, as Dr. Ramos said, probably when you're writing things down, we mention all of it. But discomfort, how's it feeling, et cetera, et cetera. There's all kinds of ways to begin that work, begin that work. The other thing is too, with hypnosis, and most of you in this room are good enough to do this. With hypnosis, you can sneak up on a lot. If I may, I'll use a quick story. I'm a minister, and I don't like to teach Sunday school. Because right after Sunday school, I have to preach. I like to just focus on one thing. But this particular Sunday, I came downstairs, and my wife, who suffered from migraines, was just rocking. She had one of those migraines. It had just started. She's rocking. And I said, would you like me to hypnotize you? Because I had successfully hypnotized her in the past to help her with the discomfort and the pain. But she was already in this mindset, no, I'm going to have to go to the emergency room. No. And I had her scheduled to teach Sunday school that day. And I'm thinking, if she goes to the hospital, I'm going to have to teach Sunday school. I don't want to teach Sunday school that day. So I said, well, don't you want to hypnotize? She said, no, I don't want you to hypnotize. So if I may, Dr. Spotty, you imagine he's much prettier. Okay? But I just started rubbing her shoulders. Now, this is my spouse, so it's okay to touch her. I rub her shoulders. But the rubbing the shoulders is really the distraction technique. And I'm talking. And I'm talking. And all of a sudden, she's in hypnosis. And now, starting at 10, going down to 9, going down to 8, reducing, using ideomotor with the finger, reducing. I get her all the way down to 1, and then brought her back up, right? And she immediately looked at me and said, you didn't want to teach Sunday school, did you? I said, no, I did not want to teach Sunday school. And she went to church and taught Sunday school.
All the things that William just described are the things that we did
right.
with Brenda. He just broke down everything that happened, right? Go into it, come up with a metaphor. I let her describe it. What size? Asking regular questions. What size is it? What's the size of a softball? Okay, how would I know that? How would anybody know that? But that's the way she and her mind are working with it. I had a client who came in, had a doctor's referral. Everything was going great. He was on about 6 different kinds of pain medicines every day. I don't know what kind they were, but he told me he was taking 6 pills a day. And so we talked about his pain, where it was. We focused in on it. Where is it? And how big is it? He said, oh, it's way bigger than me. It's way bigger than my body. Well, that was a little bit of an indication about why his pain meds were not as effective as they might be, because that was prescribed for his body. All the stuff that was bigger than his body wasn't being treated at all. So the first thing we did was shrunk it down to exactly where it was in his leg, and that decreased the discomfort. As Sean was talking about, your words are important. I don't mind starting with the pain word. So what's your level of pain? And then as we move down and down, it gets less and less. Discomfort, that spot, anything else other than that P word.
Well, but see, that's talking. That's during the interview. You don't write that down.
No, I didn't write any of that down. I thought William seemed to be making some notes over there. I hope somebody sue him, but I didn't write anything down. She was doing everything, right? We aren't wizards or magicians. We aren't making them make a change. Well, this is my view of hypnosis. It's not the right view, it's my view, okay? We aren't making them do something. We are facilitating their change so that they can do what their mind is doing. Because guess what? They got themselves into that without a facilitator. Their mind got them there in the first place. They came to me in the pain trance. So I don't think I have to do a whole lot of stuff to deepen them. Let's see what is.
Let's see where that is.
Where's your level, Brenda?
About 3 or 4.
About 3 or 4. It's come up a little bit. We didn't do a whole lot. What was your point? Did you have a point?
Because I want to do something.
Okay. All right. We want to do something in a minute. So we were moving things around, but letting her mind do the moving. Does that make sense? And what might you do to change it? I could simply say to her, take that softball that she created and explode it. She might go, I can't, or I won't, or maybe she, for some reason, needs a little bit of it to remind herself not to hurt herself. I don't know that. She does. So you heard me ask her, where would you like to take it? Would you like to leave it there? Would you like to take it down to 0? Whatever. But I let my clients do all the work rather than, I don't give a lot of suggestions.
That's a good indication.
Something they have to join that was
Right.
Because it's a symptom. It's just a symptom.
And that is that, I don't know if you noticed it, but when Karen was working with Brenda, and Brenda said, Karen asked Brenda, how big is it? And Brenda said, it's small. And in my mind, that's small, right? But Karen didn't read her mind, which is what sometimes hypnotists will do. She's still a little bit vague. Say, oh, well, how big is that? And when you said softball, I thought, oh my God.
I know.
I was thinking something like that. When you said softball, I thought, oh, that's horrible. so the thing is, so Karen waited for Brenda to tell her what size it was rather than just assuming that it was about this big, and it wasn't.
Right. So, and again, when the guy was saying it's really big, how big would that be? It's way bigger than me. Wow. Okay, but that's their metaphor. That's what they created. That's the trance they're in, which is exactly what you said, right? Yeah. So I'm really interested. We have some other things to clear up here, but I still want to see that 2-second process, don't you?
Yeah, can I hit real quick what the basic strategies are always going to be? Yeah, just real quick, the basic strategy is always going to be one of 4 things. You're usually either going to be distraction technique, some sort of distraction technique, or it's going to be a reframing, or it's going to be a numbing, or it's going to be some form of dissociation, And that's what I meant about, depending on what kind of client you're working with, that's how you're going to choose, which one of those 4, and then you're going to decide how to maybe match it with the metaphors they're giving you, or something that's going to match, like say a softball versus the pinky size.
Put a little bit low on these.
Need a couple more? Yeah, we'll have to get at the end of class. But anyway, on that sheet I just passed out, if you see that there's 3 different types of people. It's the reevaluation of hypnotic phenomenon on that side. It's on both sides, but reevaluation of hypnotic phenomenon. Basically, Barbara said there's, among highly hypnotized people, there's these 3 different groups. There's people who are naturally amnesia prone. Those are the ones every hypnotist loves to work with, two reasons. One, they go deep in hypnosis, they respond great to post-hypnotic suggestion, and they have spontaneous natural amnesia. And they think the hypnotist is great. When they're done, they're like, oh, you were so wonderful, you're amazing, blah, blah. They're amnesia prone. They're incredible subjects. Well, as you can see there, it's often they've had some traumatic experiences when they were younger, and they've learned to kind of dissociate, block out. And so you can use blocking out, you can use isolating, repressing, dissociating, forgetting, not attending to. A lot of people, they literally can forget they're hurting. They can forget. It's hard to imagine, but they can forget. But they're really good at forgetting a lot of things, actually, but not just pain. But the next one is the fantasy-prone people. Now, fantasy-prone people and amnesia-prone people have two things that are very, very important to know when you're dealing with discomfort or pain in common. They both possess psychosomatic ability. They are amazing. They have psychosomatic ability. They can actually think it and their body starts to change. They have amazing talent. They're extremely talented people. And fantasy-prone people, they'll respond only if creative suggestions are used to guide them to become absorbed in a hallucinated world where pain does not exist or is no longer experienced as painful. You see the difference between the first one and the second one? Yeah. Very different. They're very different. And by the way, the fantasy prone will remember everything you ever said. They do not experience amnesia unless you really are good at getting them to experience it. They are not amnesia prone. They're going to remember what you said afterwards. They're going to be very aware. They're the kind of person at the end of a stage show shocks the stage hypnotist because they were great all during the show, but they remember everything. They remember everything. They don't respond very well to amnesia. And the third group is all these graduate students in psychology who really want to be in the study, and they score really high on the scales, but they do not have any special talents. They are not psychosomatic. I mean, they don't have psychosomatic ability. They just are highly motivated. And so, well, they will tolerate pain by attending to something else, reinterpreting the stimulus as not painful, using coping verbalizations, and then using relaxation with mental calmness and cognitive strategies. That's very different. See, all three are very different. So now, is everyone one of those three? Pretty much, they're going to fall into one of those three categories. Some people are going to be a little more like amnesia prone, some people are a little more like fantasy prone. Now, not everyone's going to score on the high end of the hypnotizability scales, but like Karen said very ably just a moment ago, you'll never get a more motivated person than somebody in pain. They're motivated. They're going to give it. They're going to give a shot. They're going to give you a shot. And so, if you're kind of speaking in their language, so to speak, then you're going to have a better opportunity of having good possible success. But the one thing I would say that I like to do, and I'm not, everybody's different. I am a big believer in the power of hypnosis and hypnotic state. I want them as deep as possible. And so I don't think there's anything wrong with seeing people over a series of sessions and making the first couple of sessions in there training sessions where they're learning how to go deep in hypnosis. Because if you put all your eggs in that first session basket, you might lose an opportunity that if you'd had a little more practice and they'd had a little more practice at being a good subject, they might have done better. Does that resonate with you guys? I mean, so I would get some agreement out of them that this is a learning process and they're going to get better and better, and they have to learn how to go deep in hypnosis. Because the truth is, as good as Sean Michael Andrews is, none of us in this room can make people go into hypnosis. You know what I mean? They have to allow it to happen. And let's face it, if somebody's in really severe discomfort, it's harder. It's harder. And so they've got to learn how to do that. And so that's just my little 2 cents. I'll throw that out. So anyway, go back.
One of the most significant things I've learned in let's say the last decade, I'll credit Michael Elner with this one. Michael Elner, some of you remember Michael. He did a lot of work with pain, and he said something to me that changed the way I deal with pain. It's very significant. I'm getting cold chills just thinking about this. It's really significant. Now, what would happen is I would work with people with pain, and sometimes we would have some really good success, and their pain would be significantly reduced. But some of them, I couldn't get everything. I couldn't make it all go away. And at the end of the session or the treatments, I felt like I failed, and I think they felt that we weren't completely successful because I wanted to take away all their pain, which you can do quite often. responsibly. All right, so Michael told me that changed the way I deal with pain. He said, when you're interviewing this person, you say, what percentage of this discomfort could I take away that would make a significant change in your life? All right, and what they will almost always say is something that's like less than the whole thing. They'll say, well, if you could reduce it, say 50%, I could clean my house, I could play with my children or grandchildren, I could hold down a job. If you could take away half of this, that is going to change my life. And then you go for the whole thing. You go for 100%. But if you only get 60% or 50% of it to go away, they feel like a winner, you feel like a winner, and you change their life. Whereas the way I did it was hit and miss. But if you do it this way, I think you have a chance of being 100% successful, unless they came in there with some secondary gain issues that they're going to hang on to that pain, and you can deal with that too. But if they have secondary gain, and by golly, I'm going to hang on to this pain because I don't want to go back to work, or I don't want to teach Sunday school.
Can I jump on that one?
Go ahead.
That is excellent. I'm just going to give you a case study with it. I did a stage hypnosis show in Missouri, and the guy calls me, about a week later and says, hey, I've got this niece, terrible pain. She's had it for years. She's young, but she's had it for years, and all the problems. And so I knew a psychiatrist who was a very good hypnotist in Hannibal, Missouri. So I referred and said, this is who you need to call. The psychiatrist calls me and says, hey, the kind of practice I have right now, I cannot give this young lady, he did meet with her, says I cannot give her the kind of time she needs. I want to refer her back to you. I said, well, she has to drive all the way to Springfield, Illinois, but they were willing to do it. Okay. So she gets to my office. She's got her mother with her. She's 26 years old. I'm doing the usual kind of intake interview. And the intake interview, it comes out, she'd been on a stage show as a kid in high school. So my plan was, I didn't stay with the plan, but my plan was, I just wanted to kind of teach her how to go deep in hypnosis. And I was going to see her like twice on the same day, two different times. And then they were going to stay the night, see her twice again on the next day. And so, because they'd driven such a distance. And so, but right there with the mother in the room, I was just going to test her and see how good a subject was. I mean,
Wow.
all the way down deep. And I'm thinking, I wasn't planning to do any pain stuff in that first one. I was just, teach her how to go. But I thought, why waste the trance, right? Why waste the trance? So I created the smallest hypodermic needle known to man in her fantasy land, and gave her in her hand the small, and she was supposed to put it where the pain was. See? And when she came up, zero pain.
Wow.
Zero. This woman had been, it had totally debilitated her life. So now, was it because I'm great? No, it was purely how good she was. But so anyway, then we did our second session the same day, gave some more techniques, really cool, and I was teaching her some self-hypnosis. Now, here's the other thing is, remember in your good old National Guild of Hypnotists training, there's primary suggestibility and secondary suggestibility. Secondary suggestibility means how they respond post-hypnotically, and the primary is how they respond to hypnosis. All right? Now, there's also the whole idea of heterohypnosis, where someone hypnotizes you, and self-hypnosis. Well, she went home, not home, she went to their hotel that night, and she was practicing self-hypnosis, which I also was wanting to teach her, see. And she wasn't getting the same results with the self-hypnosis she was getting with the heterohypnosis, where I would hypnotize her. So they came back the next day. I have to spend an hour the next day trying to explain to her what had happened, because she could not wrap her head around zero pain, because she had had constant pain for years and couldn't understand. And she wanted a course on hypnosis,
Yeah.
why hypnosis works, that if you know that one, come see me.
But you'll always get what you go looking for. And she was going looking for pain.
Yeah. So anyway, make long story short, and the mother was like ecstatic. Oh, this is fantastic. Mom's like, she's in like her early 50s or something, and she's like, this is great. And so, but the young lady, and so I did those sessions, and then when it came time for them to come back like 2 weeks later, guess what happened?
Uh-oh.
She had too much pain to come back and do the session.
Oh.
You know what I mean? So they said, we need to reschedule. Mom never could get her to come back. And it was secondary gain. Because she was 26 years old, she'd never had a job. You know what I mean? She's 26 years old, never had a job, didn't have to leave the house. You know what I mean? It was too big a jump. It was too big a jump. Secondary gain.
Now, let me give a real quick version of the secondary gain. I had this lady, the guy that brought her to me was her son. Her son was one day, the 2 days later was a daughter. This lady was in like her late 80s, and the son was a retired airline pilot. What had happened, each day of the week, one child had to carry her to the beauty parlor, had to carry her to the grocery store, had to carry her to the physical therapist, had to carry her to meet. I was wondering, what is going on? So I talked to her, doing some hypnosis. Under hypnosis, the first thing I wanted to find out was, where is she coming from? I asked her under hypnosis, was she willing to let this pain be released? And was she willing to let go of this pain? And she went. And I looked at her kids and go, okay, we're done. I can't help you. I brought her out and told her what I tell everyone else. Stay at the front. I wouldn't see anymore. And that was secondary gain. She had each of her children. And these were, people in their late 60s, early 70s, driving her all over town, pampering mom.
To the man I said the pain was way bigger than he was, he had been in a devastating car wreck in Arizona. He was a stockbroker and lived in Phoenix. And he was out in the desert and had fallen into a ravine, and it was like 38 hours before they found him in his car. His finger was all bent back, his leg was mangled. He was in a definite trance when the paramedics arrived, right? He was, yes, and in and out of consciousness. And so what the paramedics said when they got there were things like, as he recalled later, oh, that finger, he'll never be able to use that finger, and he will never walk again. That leg is never going to function again. Got him into the hospital. He was in the emergency room. They called his brother and sister who lived in Chicago and flew him down there to take care of him. In the room, the doctor was talking to the brother and sister, and this guy's in and out of consciousness. The doctor's saying, we're going to have to amputate that leg. And the brother and sister, because he'll never walk again. He'll be in pain for the rest of his life. And the brother and sister said, we can't make that decision for him. Will he be able to last until he comes out and make the decision? The doctor said, yeah, that's no problem. When he came out, he decided not to have the leg amputated. They were able to put in a rod. You may know more about this doctor than I do. I don't have any idea what they did to his leg. But there was no longer any physiological thing going on. There wasn't even any nerve damage, as it turned out. But he couldn't walk without a cane and considerable pain. Now, that day that he came in and we reduced that pain, he walked out of my office without the cane, and his brother called me the next day and said, this is amazing, because he's walked all day, he hasn't had any pain. The next week, he came in for a follow-up to do some reinforcement and some self-hypnosis work. He had already stopped taking as much pain medication. But as we were dealing with, do you want this pain to go away completely, in hypnosis, he admitted to me he won't know that he was the wealthy one in the family. His brother and sister didn't have much money, and that he left his job. He came back and was living with his brother. His brother took him every place. In return, he was paying his brother's mortgage, and he put his nephew through college. So if he let go of, as it turns out, if he let go of all that pain, he couldn't justify giving that charity to his brother, and his brother couldn't take it. So we then worked on how they communicated and worked out their arrangement. Once they worked out a better arrangement, and it was okay that he came to Chicago and was living, and they were all getting along and putting the family back together, yada, 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 it was okay for him to let go of that pain.
Yeah. But Ray, just by show of hands, how many of you have just hypnotized somebody who obviously had physical discomfort, but that's not why they're there? And then after the session, they're like, woohoo, they're just like, one of my offices is in Decatur, Illinois, and it's on the second story of a real tall office building. And this one couple came in together, and the woman could hardly walk. She could hardly walk. Well, I did her session first, and I was doing her spouse after her. And we came, the spouse, the husband and I came out into the waiting room, and she's not there. She was out walking the halls because she felt so good. She's like, this is great, because she could hardly even walk when she came in. But I explained to her, I said, now, take it easy, because it's like taking a pill. Tomorrow, it might be, you might pay for what you're doing today. But how many of you guys had that? Do you have that? Do you hypnotize people like that? It's all the time.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, hypnosis in and of itself has a natural analgesic anesthesia effect depending on the depth. And a lot of people like that. I had one funny, this lady was really, she was in her 80s and she had tons of arthritis, and she was there really for weight loss. And so I hypnotized her, but she was like, as soon as she came out of hypnosis, she was, I feel great, I feel great. And she'd walk around, and I told her, I said, that's like taking a pill. I said, you know, it's gonna wear off. I mean, you know, be careful. Boy, the next session she came back, oh, it wore off. It wore off, and she was paying for it, you know, but she overdid it, right? You know, she overdid it. So, you know, but you know, hypnosis is a great tool. It is a great
Going
tool.
along with what Sean said about that percentage and asking that question,
Yeah.
that's super, super important, because I deal with a lot of clients that have anxiety and depression, and that's another form of, they call it pain too. And we don't listen enough to that one. But anyway, when you ask that question about the percentage, and they say like 80, 70, something like 90%, but then you say, well, what about the remainder, whatever? And they say, well, I don't know. They never thought like that, right?
Yeah.
And then you say, well, what would it be like on the other side of that? And they're just such in the habit of being in pain.
Right.
So like, it just becomes like they've gone to so many dead ends before they ever came to you.
Right.
And
They
you-
understand the
and-
percentages.
And once you get them thinking outside of that dead end, it's almost like you're already relieving pain before they ever close their eyes. It's the coolest thing to watch.
That is great. You know, I never thought about using the same strategy for depression and things like that.
Oh, yeah.
That's very smart. I
Oh,
never
yeah.
thought about that.
Well, what we did with Brenda were just submodality shifts, and that you could do with anything, right?
I can't tell you how many people come in my office and say, I have anxiety and it hurts.
Uh-huh.
Almost every day.
So I'm gonna make sure we repeat that, because this was about,
Oh,
you
yeah.
know, this doesn't just work for pain, anxiety and stress and other things.
It could be
People
almost
will call-
anything.
Yeah, well, it could be almost anything, but people will call those things also painful or
Yeah.
pain. And so, yes, it's something.
I don't want to get back into the galaxy, but are we allowed now to say, are you willing to get rid of the pain?
Are we
ready
allowed to say,
legally
are you
that?
willing
Say
to get
something
rid of
else.
You can say anything, just don't write it
pain? That's what keeps us in the clear.
Say, of yours, the percentage you were talking about, my stage induction, I do a percentage. I said, you can easily relax 50% more. And just the percentage, everyone knows the first 50% and 70% and 90%. And it's just like magic. But the percentages work great.
I do want to point out that hypnosis works. It works like magic, and it doesn't matter necessarily which theory you believe, okay? I do believe in deepening a client, but I believe it in a slightly different way than 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, or whatever that kind of testing is. I believe that I was deepening Brenda's trance by having her focus in on that. That was the induction. Focus in on that pain. So it was a very short induction. Focus in on that pain. As soon as she got it and started describing it, the more she described it and the more real it became to her, with color, with all the attributes, with the size, with what it was, the more real it became to her, the deeper she was in trance. She couldn't have answered those stupid questions if she hadn't been in trance. Look at your pain. What size is it? What the hell are you talking about? There's no logical, conscious information that can answer that. So just the fact that she focused, that was the induction. Focus on that pain. When she did, and then we described it, she went deeper and deeper and deeper inside her own mind, right? It's just as effective as relaxing and go 10, 9, 8, whatever deepening technique you use. It is all deepening. Would you guys agree with that?
All focus, concentration, and imagination.
William doesn't.
Well, I'm just thinking. I'm not saying I disagree. I'm not saying I disagree.
Yeah.
I think when she went, that was it, she was on.
Right.
Yeah, and you see the advantage of someone like Brenda. I'm assuming Brenda is a very well-practiced subject, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so, and you knew that, and that's why I assumed you're doing is, there are people at this conference, you can say, close your eyes, go deep hypnosis, and they will.
Right, don't say that to Mark Theodore if you run into Mark Theodore.
Yeah.
He'll be out.
Yeah, so I just assumed that was the case when you were doing that with her, and I assumed that's why you didn't do a little more induction. because she's a well-practiced
But
subject.
that is all the induction I would do anyway.
Was there-
That is my,
Yeah.
yes, it's a very conversational.
What more technique you were going to work on?
I thought about it. Oh, this is your show.
We want to give them all the information we can give. It's not my show, this is our panel. We invited you to the panel to do it.
Sean do his.
Yeah.
The more,
I didn't have
it would be nice for us to see more.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Yeah. Okay. What have you got?
Like moderate sinus pressure, headache.
Yeah. Of course.
When I get sinus headache, it's in here and in here.
Yeah.
Do you want to come up?
Come on up. Yes. That's the best kind. Hi, I'm Sean. Let's see, so, you said show me where you feel it. Here?
Mostly here,
Yeah.
in the nose area, and then here.
Right here, okay. Do you have any,
Sean, can you turn this?
Oh, do you have any, probably better, feel like this, okay. Do you have any, neck or elbow or shoulder or wrist problems?
I do tend to, when I store stress and from headaches, it's right here.
Oh, no, but I mean, do you have like a problem with it, like bad back or
No,
tennis elbow or something like that?
No.
Okay, all right. Here's what I want you to do. I have a safety, I have people back behind me. Okay, so, it's here and here, and would you like me to take it away right now?
yes.
Okay, all right. So, here's your hand, I want you to put your feet together, please. All right. So, in a moment, what I'll do is I'll shake your hand down. When I do, eyes are closed down. Your head will probably wind up maybe on my shoulder here, and feel good. Okay. All right, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to close your eyes, please. Relax them to the point that it just won't work. And when you're satisfied, it just won't work. I want you to test and prove it just won't work. Sleep. 5, deeper, 4, 3, 2, 1, deeper. Now, little girl, 4, 5, 6 years old, standing up by the house, feeling the heel, sun, head, neck, shoulders, back, chest, assuming no discomfort at all. Allow that up. 3, 1, and keep the knees around, walking in front, back, and house. 2, start kicking the toes around, walking in front, back, door. 2.5, 1, right, front, back, 3, here now. And the behavior count feels pretty good. That feel good?
Yeah.
It's gone.
It's lighter.
It's lighter. Okay.
It's not completely.
All right, I've got another one. Okay, this is the quick one. All right. Okay. So, all right, ready? Okay. 1, 2, 3, hands clear. Okay, nice. Good, better? Not better on that one. All right, first one is like a little bit, second one, not so much. Okay, all right. It doesn't always work. It just 99% of the time it goes, okay, that's fine. Thank you.
That's great.
I knew that one day when I did the demonstration, it wouldn't work. That's it.
I've seen it work.
Yes.
You know, I was going to say that I don't think that all pain reduction or elimination inductions are deepening. I just, from my own experience, especially with myself, I'm probably one of those people who is analgesic or whatever. I didn't realize, or whatever you call that. I didn't realize that because all I needed to do when I was in a hospital bed one time was just realize, oh yeah, I just needed to examine in my arm with my mind exactly which muscle it was that was tight and relax it, and I had no more pain. You know, and I don't think that's really deepening, but maybe it depends on the person.
I think you went through the whole thing.
No, it's
You
the
found it,
analysis
you
of
think-
it.
Yeah.
Remember, you analyzed the muscle, so you concentrated. That was too deep.
Oh, it's deepening.
Remember, deepening is a broader term than just counting down 10 to 1. Okay, it's taking someone deeper into a trance, however you affect that
Okay,
change.
yeah, well, that's true. I did focus
Yes,
on a point. That's
yes.
true, I did.
So it is
Oh,
deepening, it's
interesting.
just not the formulaic traditional,
Yeah.
do an induction, do a countdown. The element induction, Sean is an expert at the element induction. It has it all in it. Now, it does have a 10 down to 1 count, but all these suggestibility tests are also deepeners, yes?
Oh, interesting.
And it's a compounding suggestion. If you lock your eyes closed, and then you can do the next thing, and then you lose numbers, and then you lose, all of that is a deepening process too,
Oh, cool.
right?
Yeah, okay,
It's all
that makes sense.
I didn't feel it completely go away, but now as it's like settling in as I'm sitting,
Uh-huh.
it's gone. And you didn't do for headache, but now the tension in my neck and shoulders is gone.
That's nice.
So he's the world's
So
fastest
I'm gonna-
hypnotist, but you're not the world's fastest client. It's okay, as long as it worked.
So which works, internet.
Which is worse.
Okay. Um, well,
Want me to turn?
this won't be, let me borrow. Right. This won't be. hypnosis.
Thanks, Coach.
Now close your eyes. And on the count of three, not until, you take a deep breath in and release slowly. Take a deep breath in. And release. That's right. And as you continue to relax, on the count of three, but not until, I want you to take a very deep breath. Release slowly. 1, 2, 3, deep breath in. And release slowly.
It was gone and now it's even higher.
You say there's.
Well done. Well done.
Thank you.
And like when you put the pressure point here, it wasn't in just in my neck, like it's like overall tension and soreness in my body. It just like went right through me. It was like, whoa, like everything feels more loose.
I charge extra for that.
Interesting.
William and Karen have not worked with you yet.
So we got 2 more tries.
Doc, would you maybe repeat what you said to her? Because I was right here, even beside you, and couldn't hear what you were saying.
That's why I want to talk in a submodality. I want to talk in a submodality term. It doesn't matter what you say. It's just a deeper. It's just focusing on concentration. And on the second time that I got her to relax, you saw her. Well, she's actually underneath. You can say anything you want. I just want to do it a different way.
We are always in trance. We are always in trance, and we don't need anybody else to get us into it.
How is that much time?
We, meaning
People, humans. So we're always getting ourselves into trance, okay? We are right now in the learning trance or in the conference trance. We are in the speaker trance. You're in the student trance, right? When we go out to lunch later, we'll all be in a different kind of peer camaraderie trance. When you go out with your girlfriends later on for lunch, you're going to be in an entirely different trance. And when you're home with your babies, you're in an entirely different trance. And nobody counts you into those or moves you around to those. You seamlessly go back and forth into them. And so we're always going in and out of trance. We're creating. I want to quote Melissa Tears, although at the Mid-America Hypnosis Conference, I'm going to clean it up just a little bit, but I'm going to quote mostly Melissa Tears, who says, this stuff's all made up. And the only thing that she didn't say in that was she had one less letter in that S word than the one I had. But all this stuff is made up. What they come to us with is made up in their head. You don't think a spider phobia is real, do you? It's something they made up. And what we do to help them is also made up. And the reason it's important to know that kind of deepening, this kind of deepening, the conversational stuff that I like to go to more, doesn't mean that I don't use the formulaic stuff too. I had a guy, this wasn't pain, I had a guy call me one day and asked me if I could change his taste buds. And I said, what do you need? And he said, well, I saw a stage show and the guy changed his taste buds. He gave them lollipops and they were loving them, and then he changed their taste buds and they were all spitting them out. It all tasted like poo. And I said, you want all of your food to taste like poo? And I said, no. But I'm Catholic and we're coming up on Lent and I want to be able to eat fish and like it. And I don't right now. Can you do that? And I said, absolutely, come on in. Guess what? I didn't do a whole lot of Ericksonian stuff with this guy because he believed in the stage hypnotist. If I hadn't locked his arm tight, if I hadn't locked his hands together, and then I did all of that phenomenon with him because that's what he believed hypnosis was. If I didn't know how to do that, I wouldn't have had as much success with this particular client. So I didn't do the soft Ericksonian approach with this guy. I did a much more authoritarian. I don't think I've channeled Shawn Michael Andrews, but I don't know, I might have. But I certainly did a different approach with that guy because that's what that guy wanted. And I'm going to deal with the client who's in front of me and their belief system, not mine.
Well, I'm just one time now, I'm sorry about this, guys, but I deal with a lot of discomfort. And so if somebody calls and says, can you help me with this pain, or can you help this person with this pain? So I'm gonna now say, well, I don't know, but we can, with a changing of the lifestyle, it might improve.
No, if you're asking me, I wouldn't come to you. And here's why. When you ask someone, can you help this or can you correct this? And you say, I don't know. Oh, I thank you.
Well, I know, but I'm trying now, how would you answer if someone saying, you know, testing you, do you work with pain?
I would say, let's get you an appointment and come in and we'll talk.
And then once they're in, you can just be honest.
Number one strategy of private practice is get them in the door. Can't help unless they show up.
I'd do it slightly different. I think that's brilliant.
And I'm just trying to say where I'm covered as a consultant hypnotist.
He was covered, right?
How do you answer that question?
You just answered a question, yes, that you're not liable. If you legally, if you say that you can treat a condition, you're liable, but nobody's gonna hold you to that. A judge won't hold you to that.
So
that's on the phone, because on the phone, it's considered a conversation, not a diagnosis. If I answer it and say, yes, that's one thing, I don't answer the phone. But just always say, come in, let's talk. Don't ever say you can help anything, don't ever
and if
say
they
you
come
treat
in and they're a stooge and they ask that question?
Well, if they fill out the paperwork, you're gonna know if they're a stooge anyway.
Yeah.
Because one, if he fills out the paperwork and puts those conditions down, he's misrepresenting himself to you. So that means you're not liable.
What, say that again?
If he comes down and writes those conditions down on your intake form, he's misrepresenting himself.
I help people's lifestyle.
Yeah. See, I get the liability of getting out of it, because if he lies on the form, I can prosecute him
What do you mean
myself.
lying on the form? I'm in pain, can you help that on the form?
No, if he puts a condition down and he doesn't have that condition, I've had, say for example, I've had Blue Cross inspectors come into the office. And one MD I had worked for me at the time, he goes, well, that's an investigator for Blue Cross. So he goes, but you understand they work for Blue Cross. I said, I'm just going to treat the condition they had on their paperwork. I said, I'm just going to do my job. But you don't understand. I said, you don't understand. I run the show. Don't worry about it.
So if they write down that I'm in pain, I'm here for pain control.
If they write that down, are you legally liable? Is that what you're asking?
Yes. How do I get to treat the client without being liable?
Just say, I'm not particularly working on your pain. I'm just working on you.
Your lifestyle. You.
Yeah, your lifestyle. I'm here to improve your lifestyle. Or you can even say well-being.
Okay.
Quality of life.
Yes.
I can't promise anything.
I'm here to teach you self-hypnosis.
Yeah.
And stay
Yeah.
at that.
I have a client right now who said, I've been in pain for years with my foot. The doctor has done surgery, this and that, and no matter what I've done, I still have the pain. Can you help me with that? So we talked. I said, well, what happened? Da, da, da. Okay, come on in. Let's see what we can do. She came in for that. The whole conversation was about her bad marriage.
Yeah.
So I was helping her actually with reducing stress with the bad marriage. So so I can still see her and work with her. Just don't say I'm taking the pain away from you.
One thing you can always do, and you can utilize this terminology, is tell your clients, you have to remember, the body does what the mind tells it to. We're just going to work with you. And just leave it at that.
I said, well, let's see where what is the stress that may be causing the discomfort you have in your foot. I said the problem you have with your foot.
Well,
and boom, she went talking about the stress. We worked on that, forgot about it.
Well, you can always use the the phraseology, pain is subjective. Different people manifest pain differently. Let's talk about you, and then boom, pain's out.
Let's talk about you and
the term pain is out of the phrase, because you're saying, let's talk about you. But you can all use my little canned phrase. The body does what the mind tells it to.
the body does what the mind.
Let's just talk about you.
Wow.
Or you can even say, let's talk about helping you. And they forget about their pain. And just like this lady, it's about something else. You probably have clients come in, they have chest pain. And, you know, it's like, well, what happens? You know, did somebody hurt you? You have a broken heart? And I've had patients just start crying right there. How did you know? I think I'm just asking a question.
Let me ask you a question real quick. Would any of you guys like to have this panel on video so that you could watch some of these things that were done? Because I recorded this. Would you like to have it? I cannot guarantee you I'll get it to you in the next couple of days. As soon as I get it downloaded, if you want to register for it, I will send that to you. I will also let you know that if you put your name on this, you're going to get on my mailing list. I don't send out, I'm not a David Snyder or Jason Lynette. You won't get multiple pieces of mail from me. But I will put you, you'll get my Magic Words and Language Patterns monthly mailing. That's the one thing. If you hate it, please just unsubscribe. It's that simple. I won't care. But that's what happens. You'll get on that mailing list, and I will send you this video as soon as so that you can actually see it.
And I have a question.
I haven't yet. By the way, I didn't. I'm sorry.
Just before you go on, I'm already on your newsletter list, which is wonderful.
You will still get
Is
this.
there a way that I can indicate this so you don't duplicate? 'Cause I
It
love
won't go.
one.
It won't duplicate. It won't let me put you in twice. It won't let me put you in twice. I didn't. We talked about Melissa Roth's 5-minute migraine relief, and I promised you I would demonstrate that. We don't have time for the demo, but I'm passing around a handout with all of the instructions on it. Okay. So hopefully you'll be able to follow those. It's so easy to do. Hopefully you'll be able to follow those, and you'll still have that technique to use. So how much time do we have? 4 minutes. With that time, what questions would you guys like to say some final thoughts? Or do you have
The only thing I say is when I began, I know there's some people in this room, and I'm looking right at them, that know a lot about pain and a lot about how to help people. And I really appreciate the honor that you've given us. I'm very grateful, Dr. Ramos, and for Sean Michaels at the last minute to put it in. I really appreciate it. Because I thought it was going to be a couple instead of a panel, but this has worked out great. And so I've enjoyed it. And I'll be available. I'll be here through Saturday evening. I go back Saturday night. I have to preach on Sunday, but I'll be around if anybody wants to talk. And I am passing my card around and everything, but I think this is an important topic, and I think it's going to be more important in the next year than it's been in a long time.
Yeah, it is. So, William, how do people get in touch with you if they would like to?
Well,
if they don't have the card, if you're
card, I've got you some pens too. Got phone numbers.
And for the recording.
Okay, for the recording. For the recording, of course, my email is just my last name, Mitchell, with 2 L's, MITCHELL, hypnosis@gmail.com. So mitchellhypnosis@gmail.com. That would probably be the easiest way.
And Dr. Timothy Ramos, how do we get a hold of you?
You
become my new referral, you know.
No problem. You can email if you want. It's DRTIMAL, Dr. Tim Alabama @gmail. DRTIMAL.
TIMAL, is that correct?
I don't speak like I'm from Alabama.
I'm Karen Hand, and you can reach me at Karen@KarenHand.com. I made that as complicated as I possibly could.
And I'm Sean, and you can reach me at Sean@worldsfastesthypnotist.com.
Karen, weren't you going to hand out something?
It's coming around. Yeah, it's coming around. I don't know where it is.
Right
Where's the
here.
handouts? Not the sign-up sheet, but the handouts.
Yeah, we don't have the handouts here.
Oh, they got tracked back there. I don't think anybody on this side got them. I don't think they went around this side.
I
Thank you
didn't
very
get
much. Any other questions in the last minute and a half that we have? If you would like to sign up on this sheet and you didn't get a chance to here, if we run off, I'm at the virtual chapter table in the exhibit hall. And you're welcome to come in there and put your name on that if you'd like to. It's not a virtual table, it's a real table. It's just a virtual chapter.
That was good.
And I am in this room.